Hi folks, welcome back to Outdoors with Bud. I just done a segment on how to spool line on your spinning reel. Now I'm going to show you how to do it on your bait caster. One thing you want to remember now on the bait caster, this is a little bit different. On the spinning reel, we needed the line to come off counterclockwise. In other words, from the bottom up. On your bait caster, you want it coming over the top, just like a reel-to-reel projector. When you got done watching and you was rewinding a movie tape, the line will come off the top of this. It's going to come over, and as I'm turning the crank handle, it's going to start rotating. So you want the line to come off the top here, right straight over the top of the reel, and this is going to go clockwise as it's coming off of here clockwise. Now I went ahead and I got this started, but what you need to do when you're doing your bait caster, right inside of here there's a little pivot grommet, and there's a worm gear that goes across there. When you rotate your handle, it's going to go back and forth like this, from left to right to left to right, left to right. And the same way, you want to be careful not to over spool it, or you're going to have a lot of trouble when you cast. Once again, on the sides of these reels at the very top, there's a little chamfer like a ledge on it. You don't want to go up above that chamfer. Usually when I look down there, I try to estimate between 1/8 of an inch to 1/16 of an inch before it reaches that spot. So okay, I've got my tension on here. As you can see, nobody's having to hold it with a pencil as I described in the other segment. This is going to do all the holding itself. And all I'm going to do now, I'm just going to sit here and crank it and fill this up. Now once again, you can use this same setup for monofilament line, which is probably the most popular line that we discussed in an earlier podcast. You can use it for monofilament line, or you can use it for braided line. It's all the same. And there again, this little device that I'm using here, I got my $15 worth at a garage sale out of it many, many, many times. And I'm not having to bother somebody by making them sit there and hold it. Now you can see this going back and forth. Now it's not a bad idea to occasionally put a little drop of WD-40 or some kind of a oil on that to keep that gear clean, because if it gets gummed up, it's going to be hard to work. Now you can turn this as fast as you want to. I don't like to go overly fast, because like I say, if I hit a knot or do anything like that, I'm going to have to strip it all off to clean that off, or I'm going to have trouble. Now while I'm at it, I might add that people's ask me also, like regarding fishing line, what kind of a shelf life does it have? I've got some line that I've had for like 3 or 4 years. If you keep it in a cool, dark place, shady place, like I put a lot of it in the garage or down in my drawers here in my den desk, it's going to last you quite a while. But anytime you want to check it, if you can get your hand and pop it and snap that line, it's time to replace it, because it's going to cost you a fish in the long run. Okay, I don't know how well we can show this, but I'm going to try to tip this over to give you an idea. Can you see where that little chamfer is? All right. I could put a little bit more on that, but I'm not going to, because after I cast this a few times, that line's going to stretch just ever so slightly. Now it's not going to stretch 3 or 4 inches, but it's going to stretch just enough to change things. Okay, when you get down to when you're done with that, all you need to do is just take your clippers, clip that off. Now if you're going to put this right back on your fishing rod, you can do that and run it up through your eyelets, but I'm not going to do mine today. I'll probably do it tomorrow, so I can get by with just tying that line around the reel seat there. And then all you got to do is just disconnect everything, take your fishing line, take it around here. They normally got a little clip that you can put your tag in of your line in, and it's going to keep it from unspooling. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, that's you can do it any way you want. You can lay your spool on the ground, run it up through your eyelets and everything, but to me this is much simpler. It might take a few seconds longer to turn things around, but It's served me well, and I highly recommend you do it. Then you just take your reel off of here. Then you're back in business. So now I've got my spinning reel done, I got my bait casting reel done. And that's a disadvantage of being a bass angler. I always wanted to have a rod and reel rigged up for each technique I wanted to do. So rather than having one rod, than having to change lures every time I wanted to change lures, I had a rod and reel set up for like plastic worms, a jig and pig, a spinnerbait, a topwater. And I looked like I had Walmart floating in my boat. But hey, that's it, folks. I suggest when you go to do this, you use a quality line. Don't buy something out of the bargain bin, because they've got it in that bargain bin for one reason. That's to get it out of inventory, and they couldn't sell it. You might buy a spool of 20-pound test line for a couple bucks. It might not be worth anything. So buy the best line you can get, because like I've always said, the weakest link between you and the fish is your fishing line. And you don't want to go out there and catch an 8 or 9 pound bass, almost get him to the boat, and that line breaks. Okay, folks, we'll see you again. Thanks a lot.